The docking bay of Nexus Station hummed with the controlled chaos of interstellar commerce. Thousands of species from across the galaxy moved through its corridors, but none drew more sideways glances than the humans. They were the newest members of the Galactic Federation, barely a century into their space age, and already they'd earned a reputation for being unconventional. Verk stood at the boarding ramp of the Celestial Harmony, a massive transport vessel bound for the Andromeda Relay. His worn leather jacket, stained with grease and plasma residue, marked him as a mechanic. His toolkit hung heavy on his shoulder, filled with instruments that made the security scanner squeal in protest. "Access denied," the Krell security officer chittered, his mandibles clicking with bureaucratic satisfaction. "Humans are restricted to passenger class only. No technical personnel allowed in engineering sections." Verk's jaw tightened. "I'm not trying to access engineering. I have a ticket. Standard passenger. Your profession is listed as mechanic. Federation Protocol 7 Alpha prohibits human technicians from boarding vessels above Class 3 due to previous incidents." The word hung in the air like an accusation. Verk knew exactly what incidents they meant. 3 months ago, a human engineer had fixed a Vexian cruiser's propulsion system, increasing its efficiency by 40%. The Vexian High Command had filed 17 formal complaints, claiming the modifications violated 73 different safety regulations. The fact that the ship now outperformed their entire fleet was apparently beside the point. "I'm just trying to get home," Verk said quietly. "Request denied. Next." Behind Verk, a young woman pushed forward. Elsa's blonde hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail, and her eyes blazed with barely contained fury. She wore the crisp uniform of a Federation medical officer, but Verk recognized the grease stains she'd tried to scrub from her fingernails. "This is discrimination," Elsa said, her voice carrying across the boarding area. "You're denying passage based on species prejudice." The Krell's compound eyes swiveled toward her. "It is protocol, not prejudice. Humans have demonstrated a reckless disregard for established engineering standards." "Because your standards are inefficient," Verk muttered. "Inefficient?" The Krell's voice rose an octave. "Our designs have been perfected over millennia. They are time-tested, certified, and waste 40% of your energy through heat dissipation alone," Elsa interrupted. "Your plasma conduits are routed through 7 unnecessary junctions. Your coolant systems are prehistoric. And don't even get me started on your computational processing distribution." A crowd was gathering now. Passengers from a dozen species watched with the morbid fascination of rubberneckers at a transport crash. The Krell's mandibles clacked in agitation. "Security. Remove these humans from—" The lights flickered, then died completely. Emergency lighting cast the docking bay in hellish red. Somewhere in the station's depths, alarms began to wail. Through the transparent aluminum viewport, the Celestial Harmony drifted, its running lights dark, its massive engines silent. A Vexian officer burst from the ship's access corridor, her scales flushed with panic purple. "The ship's reactor is destabilizing. Some kind of cascade failure in the containment matrix. We have 17 minutes before breach." 17 minutes before a matter-antimatter explosion vaporized the entire station. The Krell security officer's exoskeleton had gone pale. "Impossible. That vessel passed inspection yesterday. The reactor is only 15 cycles old. Well within operational parameters." "Operational parameters mean nothing if your redundancy systems share the same failure point," Verk said, already moving toward the ship. "Which they do because you design everything to be perfectly efficient instead of actually robust." "Stop." The Krell reached for his stun baton. "You are not authorized." Elsa's hand shot out, gripping the officer's wrist with surprising strength. "You have 2 choices. Let the human mechanic save your ship, or we all die according to protocol. Choose. Fast." For a moment, the Krell hesitated. A millennium of bureaucratic conditioning warred with basic survival instinct. "Survival 1. Go," he hissed. Verk was already running, Elsa close behind. They pounded up the boarding ramp into the darkened vessel. Emergency lighting flickered uncertainly. Through the corridors they sprinted, following the escalating whine of the failing reactor. The engineering bay was a nightmare of flashing warnings and panicking Vexian crew. Verk didn't pause, his practiced eye taking in the situation instantly. He threw open his toolkit, hands moving with the confidence of a concert pianist. Elsa, bypass the secondary coolant feed. Redirect it through the waste reclamation system. That's not connected to, it will be in 30 seconds. I need a plasma welder, and someone evacuate this compartment. If I'm wrong, the radiation burst will be lethal. The Vexian engineers fled. Elsa stayed, already routing the coolant system through pathways the ship's designers never intended. Around them, conduits sparked and groaned as Verk's hands flew across the control interfaces, rewriting code, rerouting power, and physically bypassing burned-out components with spare parts from his kit. This is insane, Elsa muttered, her fingers dancing across her own console. There are 17 safety interlocks you're completely ignoring. 18, actually. The 18th is the one that's killing us. Whoever designed this system made everything dependent on a single control node. Beautiful in theory, stupid in practice. His hands never stopped moving, rewiring, recalibrating, rebuilding on the fly. Containment matrix at 12%, Elsa reported, her voice steady despite the sweat on her forehead. 9 minutes to breach. Verk's jaw clenched. His fingers flew faster. In his mind, he saw the reactor not as it was designed to be, but as it could be, should be. Humans didn't think in terms of perfect designs handed down from on high. They thought in terms of what worked. Coolant redirected, Elsa said. It's flowing, but the temperature's still climbing. Because the distribution is still routed through the original system, I'm creating a secondary distribution network using the environmental controls. That's not possible? Watch me. 6 minutes 5. The reactor's whine reached a fever pitch. Verk could feel the vibration in his teeth, taste ozone in the air. One wrong connection, one miscalculation, and they'd all die in a flash of annihilating light. His hands moved faster, driven by instinct and experience. Human experience. Trial and error. Learning from failure, improvisation, adaptation. Everything the Galactic Federation's perfect designs lacked. Got it, he breathed. He slammed the final connection home and triggered the restart sequence. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then the reactor's whine began to descend. The warning lights flickered from red to amber. Temperature readings dropped, stabilized. The ship's main power surged back online and the normal lighting blazed to life. In the sudden silence, Verk and Elsa stood gasping amid the wreckage of the engineering bay. Around them, pristine Vexian systems had been gutted and rewired with brutal efficiency. Their elegant designs replaced with something that looked like organized chaos but worked. The Vexian chief engineer appeared in the doorway, her scales still panic purple. She stared at her engineering bay, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly. You destroyed, she managed finally. He saved your ship, Elsa said flatly. And everyone on this station. But the design, the protocols. Verk began packing his tools, exhaustion settling into his bones. Your design was beautiful. It was also going to kill us all. Sometimes good enough is better than perfect. An hour later, Verk and Elsa stood at the boarding ramp once more. The Krell security officer's mandibles clacked nervously as he processed their boarding passes. Behind him, the celestial harmony hummed with power, its reactor purring like a contented cat instead of screaming like a dying one. Your boarding passes are approved, the Krell said quietly. And perhaps, if you have time during the voyage, our chief engineer would like to discuss your modifications. Verk smiled tiredly. Tell your engineer I'll be in the passenger lounge. If they want to learn, I'll teach. As they boarded the ship, Elsa leaned close. You know this is going to happen again, right? Next station, next ship, next crisis. Probably, Verk agreed. But maybe eventually they'll stop trying to keep humans out of their engine rooms. Or they'll keep dying when their perfect systems fail and we'll keep saving them with our imperfect solutions. Elsa laughed. It was a tired sound but genuine. Humanity fuck yeah? Humanity fuck yeah, Verk confirmed. The boarding ramp closed behind them, and the celestial harmony prepared for departure. In its newly modified engineering bay, a design that had remained unchanged for 3,000 years, now bore the unmistakable fingerprints of human ingenuity. Messy, inelegant, and absolutely undeniably alive. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. Perfect designs break spectacularly. Imperfect ones adapt and survive. And humans were very, very good at surviving.